Welcome back, everyone. Today we'll be discussing the Jordan 1 Atmosphere once again. Specifically, we'll be discussing whether you should sell or hold the Jordan 1 Atmosphere and why that is. To preface this, if you guys enjoy these types of videos regarding the market, reselling, and even info on how to acquire these limited products, be sure to subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you're 100% updated. Furthermore, for more urgent updates like the recent shock drops we've seen or even the exclusive access for these, follow my Twitter KeithAdam10 and personals for you. For those who don't know, Jordan 1 Atmosphere releases on December 22nd, tomorrow. Retail will be $170 for women's sizes, those of which we'll be discussing today. Stock between all sizes combined worldwide is just over 120,000 pairs. Compared to the recent Jordan 11 and Yeezy Beluga, this stock may seem very small, but this is actually just about the average stock for a typical Jordan 1 that isn't a classic retro or collaboration. 15,000 pairs of which already released through exclusive access on Nike Sneakers US in the women's sizes alone and are thus already in circulation. If you're watching this video before the drop, feel free to watch my How to Cop video. Otherwise, let's continue. In order to determine if the Jordan 1 Atmosphere will be a fruitful hold, we will cover an estimated range of what the sneaker will settle at after the drop, and also when the shipments come in, essentially the pairs going in circulation, whether they're expected to increase post-drop or even hypothetically decrease, along with how much specifically over specific periods of time, and finally, what type of margin are we looking at for these in terms of holding. Not the retail to resell initial margin, but rather just the hold margin over X period of time. Basically, are these actually going to be worth your time or not? Kicking it off, let's discuss the estimated range that these should be settling at. To begin with, stock for these is just about average, as I mentioned earlier, for a typical Jordan 1. Although the demand on these is not as impressive as the Jordan 11 Cool Gray or Beluga, obviously, the demand is certainly quite impressive still on these nonetheless. In fact, it appears more so right now in comparison to when I made my How to Cop guide just a few days ago for these. In comparison to the majority of Jordan 1 colorways we have been seeing recently, these are certainly looking much better in terms of demand. This does of course make sense considering it has that desirable color blocking of the white mid panel, the black swoosh, and the black toe box, and one consistent primary color all throughout. Not to mention, that primary color is patent leather. That's right, that pink is patent leather, and it's apparently supposed to represent the bubblegum that Michael Jordan chewed on the court. But not the entire shoe, unlike the Jordan 1 patent UNC from 2019, or the UNC to Chicago Jordan 1s from 2019 as well, those of which we'll be discussing later as well, you'll see. Now, that demand, combined with just about average stock not being abnormally high, I'm certainly expecting these to be profitable with a good margin. The larger sizes specifically will perform the best, especially since this is a women's Jordan 1. Now, regarding a specific range, prices have already seen the vast majority of their pre-drop decrease following the early access pairs, Flex app reservation pre-sellers, and general early pairs. Now, this leaves the current average at about $250, but of course, this is only the pre-drop average. We normally see a notable change post-US drop, as I always mention. This is when we normally experience what I like to refer to as the impulsivity effect. You guys should know what I'm referring to by now, as we discuss this very frequently, yet it almost still always occurs. Regarding the impulsivity effect, if you haven't watched my seller hold videos before, sneaker drops specifically impact human impulsiveness significantly after an individual fails to acquire that desired product due to insufficient supply and too much demand. Therefore, on average, we normally see about a 10% increase of the pre-drop prices post-drop. Now, that 10% isn't always the case, such as when a sneaker is slightly overvalued. The Beluga release was a perfect example of this, where they actually decreased by 5% post-drop for the reasons I mentioned in my seller hold video for those, and that's precisely what we ended up seeing, and now it looks like we're approaching that negative post-shipment average as well, just as predicted in that video I made. However, when it comes to these Jordan 1s, I actually feel like we will see a positive impulsivity effect due to the higher than usual demand on these for Jordan 1 despite the average stock. Rather than that full 10% though, I'd still stay more conservative and only expect about a 5% increase, potentially a little less than that, considering the pre-sale is already slightly higher than usual for Jordan 1s, which lately we've been seeing around $235 to $240. Therefore, with that potential 5% increase, if this is the case, this could hypothetically leave the average at around $268 tomorrow, with the larger sizes still being the best. Hence, I am planning to go full throttle on these, with my focus being on the larger larger sizes. This potential post-drop average is actually more than what I was expecting just a few days ago, but my confidence has grown quite a bit, seeing the demand increase over the past few days, with pre-sale remaining high even though the exclusive access pairs are going into circulation. Now let's discuss what the price will look like when shipments go out within that 1 to 2 week range. During this period, the vast majority of pairs will be going into circulation, aside from the amount of pairs that already went out through exclusive access, early pairs, and in-store pairs. Considering we have just about average stock on these, I'm not expecting an abnormal rate of decrease, but of course I am still expecting at least about the average amount of decrease, especially since they'll be quite high after the positive impulsivity effect. Therefore, I would expect an average drop of about 10% once shipments go out. Nothing too unusual here, just like many releases we discuss. This decrease after shipments could potentially leave prices at an average of about $241, which is just below the current pre-sale for these. But of course, larger sizes should still perform the best, hence it is suggested to focus on those if you want the best margin. Now, with the average price ranges at those points in time evident, let's discuss whether they're expected to increase from the post-shipment prices or even hypothetically decrease. So when it comes to these, I feel a pretty useful comparison is the Jordan 1 Patent UNC, the Jordan 1 Patent UNC to Chicago, as well as the Jordan 1 Crimson Tint. First, with the Jordan 1 Patent UNC, obviously this UNC colorway has significantly more demand in general, but granted, they did start off at around $400, which is much more, yet they still, nonetheless, saw a pretty solid increase over a year's time, despite being so high initially. Even more attractive than this ROI was the increase for the Jordan 1 UNC to Chicago patent, which was going for about $210 initially, and saw a massive, beautiful increase over a year's time and just continued. Then, as for the Jordan 1 Crimson Tint, these had hardly any demand and were going for just above retail, but they did end up seeing a very attractive increase as well, despite the demand on these being lower without that classic color blocking of the white mid panel and black swoosh, which unfortunately these don't have. Evidently, all of these saw very notable and healthy increases. Not just that, but the ROI on these is actually very impressive too, and it didn't take them extremely long out of times for them to begin increasing either. Also, one thing that I just want you guys to pay attention to right now is how low the Jordan 1 UNC to Chicago patents were, as well as the Jordan 1 Crimson Tints were when they first released. A big thing I'm noticing amongst all of sneaker Twitter right now is people are wondering when resale will come back to normal because they aren't as high as they were during peak COVID season. You guys have to keep in mind that what we're experiencing right now is definitely normal. You guys were experiencing something absolutely incredible during peak COVID in terms of the resale for these sneakers because good spending was at an all-time high there. Not just that, but I'm sure the stimulus checks had a positive impact as well. So I do believe that period of time kind of spoiled a lot of resellers, especially new resellers that just hopped into the market. They got used to those prices, and now that prices are coming back to the normal 2019 prices, everyone's saying, oh, what's going on? But that's a whole nother video for a different day. Right now, let's get back on track. Let me know if you guys want me to make a video on that. It's something that's been grinding my gears because people just don't seem to really understand. Anyway, when it comes to these, all of these saw very notable increases, as I already stated. All of these share similar traits to what we're discussing today, hence I am expecting a similar situation where the Jordan 1 atmospheres will continue increasing after that post-shipment trough is reached. I see the future being very bright for these. Finally, regarding the hold margin on these, essentially, are these actually going to be worth your time even though they're increasing? Considering I'm expecting these to increase in a similar manner to those other Jordan 1s we did discuss, this means we should indeed get to see a pretty healthy ROI. Not just that, but the amount of time it took definitely wasn't too bad. Of course, it wasn't accomplished within the ideal 1 year's time, but within less than 2 years, all of these looked fantastic in terms of ROI. Overall, we have amazing potential for long-term ROIs when it comes to these, and even a decent semi-short-term ROI as well. Hence, I have decided to rate these a 7 out of 10 hold, which is one of the best ratings I've given out in quite some time. I'm very confident in these for the reasons I did mention, and I do plan to hold all of my pairs, as well as keeping a personal for the toe, of course. Also, just a note in general, for anyone considering holding any items who does have low capital, you should never hold anything in general if you don't have sufficient capital to go for as many drops as possible at your full potential without holding back. If you need need money to go for all drops, try to sell these as soon as possible during that positive impulsivity effect. Let me know what you guys are planning to do with your pairs in the comments below. Since this is a discussion at the end of the day, I can't predict the future. That's just my personal analysis based on the data that I've acknowledged. We have a lot of brilliant minds watching the video right now, so I implore you to leave your notions down in the comments below. Anyway, that will conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two. Subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Also, feel free to follow Endurance's Twitter for updates on restocks or key giveaways, and the same goes for Gargantua if you want to keep up with progress or restocks. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and Personals for You. This way you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck on this drop, or if you already copped, congratulations.